Why, hello there, everyone. If you have not been following the Gundam news, lately we've gotten some pretty exciting stuff, including the fact that Gundam Evolution, the new Gundam Overwatch clone, it's getting a Western beta test that will happen in April, and then also the Doan's Island movie got a release window for Japan that will be June, and then lastly, what you're looking at right now, you're looking at the key art for a new alternate universe Gundam show, and it's called The Witch from Mercury. All we know about it is the title, this key art, but also we got some looks at the designs of 3 of the mobile suits, which will be in this show. And I don't normally feel compelled to make videos about news updates because I can never think of a way to communicate the news in a way that's significantly different from how other outlets have already announced said news, but in this case, I actually want to look at the individual mobile suit designs and analyze them and just share my opinions and thoughts about them. So, right here in the key art, we see the main mobile suit. It's called Gundam Aerial, and we can look at the design a bit better here. Firstly, I think the thorax shape and silhouette, coupled with the fact that it has a separate piece for the heel, make it look somewhat reminiscent of a design from Iron-Blooded Orphans, because the Gundam Barbatos has a separate heel piece like this, and also all of the Gundam designs in Iron-Blooded Orphans have a very small waist compared to their shoulder span. It does look pretty unique overall, though. The shield has actual vents on the shield, and that reminds me of the shield from the Gundam GPO-2 Physalis from Stardust Memory, because the shield of that Gundam actually had vents as well, because it had some sort of coolant system inside of the shield, presumably to stop beam weaponry from going through it. I'm guessing that the coolant prevents the beam weaponry from burning all the way through, which would make sense because a shield is supposed to block things, right? So I'm wondering if the vents on the shield here implies the same thing as the mechanic from Stardust Memory. So I definitely notice elements from Stardust Memory and Iron-Blooded Orphans, but aside from that, like I said, the whole thing seems pretty unique. The gun looks so strange. It's not really a rifle. It's more of a handgun, but this looks sort of reminiscent of a scope, which makes it look not quite a handgun, but not quite a rifle either. I'm not sure how I feel about the design overall. I've actually grown on the design has grown on me recently because they have pictures of the model kits as well, which I will get to. I think this suit looks way better in 3D than it does in 2D because there are so many little details and panel lining. It just looks very busy in 2D, in my opinion. Normally I would consider myself a fan of panel lining, but I think that's because most of the time when you get things with a lot of panel lining, it is a lot of panel lining on surfaces that are very broad or flat, surfaces that would otherwise be very simple without the panel lining. But here, it's not just panel lining per se, but it's a lot of little tiny armor pieces that are linking together. Like, for example, look at the armor on the hips here. That's a very small piece. And the cod piece, for lack of a better term, is also comprised of very small pieces. And it looks like the abdomen has a lot of different armor plating as well. Obviously, here's the back side. I think the back of the legs actually look pretty cool. I like how big the thighs are. I kind of wish the feet were a bit bigger, though. This is obviously a super subjective thing, but I always prefer it when the mech feet look bigger rather than smaller, so it looks as if it can actually stand up. But I guess in this case, making the feet smaller would imply that it's more high-tech, because it would imply that maybe the suit has better balancing, and so it doesn't need bigger feet. Seeing all the lines on the back of the legs, that actually kind of reminds me of the Turn A Gundam, now that I think about it. Something else that's really weird is that the beam saber handles, for some reason they're flat instead of round. So I don't know why they would be that flat. I would imagine it would be easier to hold something that's round. Huh. Also, there's a back camera. I literally just noticed that. I didn't look at these for very long because I knew I wanted to make a video on this, but it looks like a traditional head cam, but it's facing backwards, so that's interesting. I don't know if we've ever... Let me know in the comments if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen a mobile suit design with a camera facing backwards on the head, so that's actually kind of cool. I think there's also a camera on the front, though, the black part here. The one thing I really don't like about this design is these two black stripes here. At first, when I saw this design, it didn't bother me, but upon looking at the high-grade model kit, these parts are actually transparent, as if there's some kind of camera or something, and I don't like how vulnerable those parts look. It'll make more sense when you see the model kit. But anyway, that is the Gundam Ariel, which will be presumably the main character's mobile suit in the show. And I think I would like to get my hands on the model kit, especially, I think you'll agree with me when you see it. Oh yeah, I was putting this here because I was wanting to compare the vents. See how on the Physalis there are vents on the shield? That's what I'm talking about. It's also pretty interesting that these vents look like something from a UC Gundam chest, even though obviously this is not UC Gundam and it does not have these anywhere else on said mobile suit. But that's what I mean by the shield. So here is the Gundam Elfrith, if I am pronouncing that correctly. This is my favorite of the three designs. I think it just has a really cool color palette. And the one thing I don't like is how small the feet are. Again, I prefer bigger feet. And for some reason on this design, the feet seem even smaller than on the Gundam Ariel. But aside from the small feet, actually, I don't even think it's necessarily the feet being small in this case. It's just from a side profile, the feet seem really flat for some reason. But I like the color palette. I like the chest. The chest kind of reminds me of the Gundam Red Frame Astray, which I know is a super popular design. This shield also seems as if it maybe has vents, but they're more on the side here, which would actually be, maybe literally speaking, more similar to the Physalis shield because it actually has the vents on the side. But I just really like the color palette. I like the head design way more than the Gundam Ariel head design as well. I think the head design is what's selling me on this. Back has a lot going on. I'm going to talk about that more when we look at the model kit. Also, the back of the knees look pretty good. I just want to shout out that small bit of detail, but I think that looks pretty good as well. So now we're going to the Begweer Bu, if that's even how you pronounce it. If somebody's able to identify what language that is, let me know, and then let me know if... Oh, actually, I can just read the katakana here, so it would be Begiru Beru, or something like that. Anyways, this is so wild. Obviously, this is the most wild design, right? First of all, I don't even know where the cameras are on the head. Maybe on the side, but how would it even see in front of itself? Maybe the little, maybe the star design on the front of the face is a camera, but that seems way too big to be a camera. Maybe it's just like a really big shield and the camera underneath is actually smaller. Also, the feet, it almost has heels, like stilettos, but two, which makes me think of the Cubely. I think overall, there's nothing really specifically about this that's similar to the Cubely, but the overall aura is similar to the Cubely, if that makes sense. Plus the color palette, right? The white and lavender. It seems like a very sort of ethereal feminine design. I highly doubt this will be a grunt suit. This looks like a suit from... This looks like it'll be a suit used by one of the main characters, maybe one of the antagonists or an anti-hero or something like that. Also, I have no idea what's going on here. Maybe these are additional cameras or something. The backside here has these things which seem to be thrusters, and this also reminds me of something from Stardust Memory on the Gundam GP01 Fulvernian. The Fulvernian model, it has these thrusters on the back, which aren't exactly like these because these are obviously spherical, but this is the closest thing I can compare them to because these are these weird thrusters that are just sort of protruding from the back here. So I think this is definitely going to be the most divisive design. It looks like something from G-Reco or Gundam Age because the designs in G-Reco were really weird. So if it is going to be something like G-Reco, then maybe this could be a grunt suit. But unless they're just going really wild with the designs in general, I'm thinking this will be some kind of antagonist or anti-hero suit. So those are the three. Let's now look at the model kits. So here is Gundam Ariel high grade model kit. As soon as I saw this, I was way more sold on the design because it just translates so much better in 3D, if you ask me. Especially the thorax and the hips. Here, you can see what I'm talking about. These parts here, they seem to be transparent, and you can maybe see some kind of pattern of circuitry underneath. I really don't like these parts because it looks way too vulnerable if it's made of glass or something, right? This actually reminds me of the same kind of critique I had about the Varia suit from Metroid Dread. In Metroid Dread, I really do like the suit design, but when you get the Varia suit, the light-up parts on Samus's chest, they become so thick and wide. And I think the reason they did it is because in that game, the camera's pulled far away. So if they made the glowing parts like pencil thin, you really wouldn't be able to see it very well from far away. So from a gameplay design standpoint, I understand why they did that. But when you get into a cutscene or something with the Varia suit on in Metroid Dread, they just look way too wide. And if it's made of glass or something, then that just looks like way too much surface area that's made of something more fragile than the rest of the suit, right? Because I doubt this is metal. This is obviously a nitpick, right? Maybe I'm just being obsessive about this sort of thing, but it literally does look like it's made of the same material as the front-facing head cam here. And also, this definitely is a head cam, right? Because it looks transparent here, whereas in the 2D design, it was kind of hard to tell if that was a camera or not, because on the back side, that was definitely a head cam, right? Because on the back side, the back-facing head cam is the same color as the eyes here. Also, this looks to be color separated. The eyes look color separated here, so if this really does have color separated eyes in a high-grade model kit, that would be pretty sweet. Here's it doing a cool pose. Pretty classic pose. And then the back side. I really do like the back of these legs. That'll be cool too. That'll be fun panel lining these parts here. Maybe do an ink wash or an oil paint wash. Also, it's cool that the back of the shield has that as well. It's not just bare on the back side. It's weird how it doesn't have armor on the bicep or the tricep, right? It has armor on the sides of the arms, but not the front or the back. I wonder why that is. The arms look really not that strong for a main character mobile suit, but I guess because it's called the Gundam Aerial, it's just supposed to look more light and airy, so to speak. So here is the Elfrith. Again, this is my favorite of the three designs. Whether I'm a fan of the panel lining or not, it will be a lot of fun panel lining the actual model kits. And again, I really like the head design of the Elfrith. The backside, I'm not so sure about. This is the most iffy part, in my opinion, for the model kit, because I don't even know what this is supposed to be. And the fact that these back parts are hollow, it makes it look as if it's not supposed to be hollow and they just cheaped out. Like, obviously, this design is deliberate, right? But for a lot of old model kits, or for a lot of old action figures and such, lots of times they would just have pieces be hollow if it's a piece that isn't going to be looked at much, like the backside or the underside. And that's sort of what this screams to me, even though I know logically that this is a deliberate design. And also, it'll just be really awkward painting the inside of this if you're trying to do a full paint job. So this part's really weird, but everything else about this as a model kit I really like. This part on top of the chest is also transparent. That's so weird. Maybe it's not glass or something. Maybe it's some other kind of material or element that they find, in which case I can find it a bit more palatable. But in the Aerial's case, this looks like it might be a legitimate camera, right? With how they're placed. But this piece right here, it just looks like a shield placed on top of the chest, and there's no way that's a camera. So I have no idea why this part's transparent. It'll also raise the question of what you want to do with it if you do a full paint job on the model kit, because typically reflective parts and transparent parts in a model kit kind of stick out like a sore thumb if you're trying to go for a more realistic paint job. So I'm going to be looking forward to how people deal with the transparent parts when they are doing full paint jobs of these kits. Also, the gun looks so weird. This gun looks even weirder than the Aerial's gun. So I'm going to have to get used to that. And then lastly, I already accidentally skipped this, but the Beguir model kit. Still looks just as weird. As you can see, these are spherical thrusters. It looks like they can go upwards. Maybe that's when they're not being used, right? Because if you look at the design here, they're sticking straight out, but here they're sticking straight up. That might be fun, fabricating some kind of thrust or exhaust on the back of these, on the backs of these. Such a wild design. I'm wondering if these little parts here, these little hooks that are sticking out of the heels, if these are separate parts, or if on the high grade they're just... I would assume these are part of this as a high grade, but I'm thinking maybe in the actual show they are separate parts, and if we ever get a master grade, maybe these would bend and move. Also, it looks like the front toe can bend. It's definitely a separate part for the front toe, right? But I'm wondering if it can bend, and if so, I'm wondering if you can have it stand up without worrying about it bending. Anyways, those are the 3 designs for the new Witch from Mercury show. Let me know what you think about the designs in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling about the designs. Let me know which one of the 3 is your favorite, and let me know if you are going to try getting any one of those model kits. And with all that said, I will see you guys later. Obviously, when Doan's Island releases, when I'm finally able to watch Doan's Island myself, I will be posting a review. And also, when I get a chance to play Gundam Evolution for myself, I will make a follow-up video telling you my hands-on impressions about the game. And obviously, when Witch from Mercury comes out, whenever that may be, I will post my review on that as well. So, thanks for watching, everyone, and bye for now.